And then after they told us you're going to Vietnam, and I didn't go get a map and look where it was. I just knew it was someplace in the Far East. So that was it. I got on the boat, and the wife asked me, how was that for you getting on the boat? I says, I didn't know no better. I says, and I hopped on the boat like, I'm going to the Far East, get this big donkey moving. It was just wicked crazy. There was 15,000 troops landing in wicked 12 ships, and it was just a chaos of dust, trucks, people, and it was awful wicked confusing about getting a wicked place where you could sleep and food, rations. It was a chaos, but it was just the way it was. To me, it was just another part of life because I grew up in the Army, and I never had a job before the Army. So I just took everything as just the way it is. I counted the days until I could get out of there. And but tiring. I was back at guns. Big guns, big artillery guns. The bullet that came out was this tall. It had an air timer in it. It had 100 pounds of powder behind it. And I got in back of the guns, and I was so tired, so beat out, that I got into a pup tent. And the next morning, the guys were laughing at me because I didn't have a pup tent over me. And they told me that night the guns were going off. Missions. And I was bouncing off the ground. I was so tired it didn't even bother me no more. And the guys thought it was kind of comical that I didn't even wake up. That's how tired you get. And then after we got a compound out, the Charlie would look a tunnel underneath our wire, and then put like a Yankee go home on the plane that was sitting in a compound. That was scary because they could come in and cut your throat, and you wouldn't know it. And then a bunch of cabs came in back of the air terminal where we were getting out and picked us up and told us, get that uniform off as fast as you can. I told them I don't have no other clothes. This is all I have right now. Everything else is like in a locker. I said, as soon as I can get to my locker, I'll get out of the uniform. And I heard that a lot. I went out in Los Angeles, and a guy told me, he said, don't tell nobody you just got back from Vietnam. He says, keep your mouth shut and let your hair grow, because we didn't have long hair like a lot of them out there had. And they knew that you were in the military if you had a short hair. You didn't talk about it for 30 years. You just tried to put it behind you. And then I drove truck most of the time alone. So I'd have a lot of times if I had a flashback, there'd be nobody there but me to absorb it. You know what I mean? I worked alone most of the time. And then I had jobs where I had to work with people a couple times, and it didn't turn out real good because I had this anger in me or something. When I was in Vietnam, or in the infantry part of it, what they promised us combat infantry badges. But then our MOSs didn't look to qualify. So I went down to a couple of reunions down in San Antonio and down in Lawton, Oklahoma. They had reunions down there. So I went down and took my wife down in 2006, I think it was. And acting with a command sergeant major come up to me when I got there, and he says, "You're getting a medal." I said, "No, I'm not." He says, "You're getting a medal." He says, "You didn't get no infantry badge, which you were promised in Vietnam." And he says, "I have a medal that is artillery only. It's one of the highest artillery medals you can get. It has to be approved by the Department of the Army and the general on post, and it has to be put on by a colonel in ranks." I was so embarrassed, so guilty, but I went and done it, and they pinned it on me, and I went, "Well, it's a little late, but..." And when I was driving home, it hit me that somebody recognized what we did in Vietnam.